Hello, my happy hookers. Dr. Crochet here. Just coming to you today to talk about a few things. First of all, I want to talk about what's on my hook today. As you can see here, it's a nice little variegated cotton yarn. It's Lily Sugar and Cream in colorway Earth Ombre. I'm making some dishcloths for the house, for the new kitchen. And all I did was crochet across 20 plus 1, and then did half double crochets. That's all it is just some half double crochets across row to row, row to row. And then at the end, when I get to the very top, I will do the last 4 rows in a scrubby yarn. Let me show that to you. In this scrubby yarn here. As you can see, that gets crocheted at the top, so that the dishcloths rather have a scrubby part to them, not just the regular dishcloth part. Now these are a little narrow, and I did that on purpose. They could be wider, but I made them a little less wide because I don't want them to take up as much counter space as a traditional dishcloth would. But I'm going to make them a little taller to compensate for that. And then they'll go into their own crocheted basket that will go on the counter. So that you have them all in one place all together. And then, being out in the open, on the counters, close to the sink, the basket's going to take on some dirt. And when it comes down to it, then you can just throw that in the wash. Wash and dry it, seeing how it's cotton yarn. And then it'll be ready to go again. I'm going to make roughly 12 of these. So what's on your hook today? What are you working on? I'm working on these dishcloths, but I'm also working on a gnome for a Christmas gift. I am also working on a pocket shawl for a Christmas gift. And then I've got a whole list of things that I need to start working on for the web store and the website. Now that website is www.musingsofalunatic.com, and I'll put that in the description below so that you can have a link to that. That's my web store, and there you'll find my creations, and they're all available. Everything I make is available, even if I've given away the original model as a gift. I do make sure that I take pictures to represent it and then offer it in my web store as well. Now there are one-offs in the web store. There's none in there right now, but there will be. Things like blankets that once they're made and there's no changing them. And so those are not customizable. And of course, no two blankets are the same because no two yarns work up the same unless you're working in solids, which I do not tend to do, although I do have some solids. But no two are going to work up the same unless you're working in solids. And then those will go in the store as well, the solids. But blankets take so long to make that they have a longer lead time than anything else in the store. Just about everything I have in my web store has a 3-week lead time on it, just to ensure that the product gets made, because everything's made to order. So I've got a 3-week lead time on everything that's in the store except for blankets. And blankets are a 3-month lead time because it takes so long to make them, especially if somebody's wanting a king size. If you're wanting a king size blanket, it's definitely going to take that long, if not maybe longer. That's just a fact of life. There's nothing I can do about it. And I put the lead times on items because I want people to understand these things are handmade, and it takes time and effort to make them. And, it's not something I can just whip up with a machine, like some of these people who use looms and whatnot that can whip up a sweater or, a set of dishcloths or a blanket in, a week or so. That's not who I am. I do everything by hand. And because of that, I have arthritis and I have nerve damage. So sometimes it takes me longer to make an item than, say, June down the street, who has no disabilities whatsoever. She could probably whip it up faster than I can. Disclaimer right here, there is no June down the street. That's a made-up name, made-up situation, hypothetical. Also, disclaimer, this video is not sponsored by Lily's Sugar and Cream, even though I'm working with it. There is no sponsorship. That's just who I prefer to work with for dishcloths. I also use Lily's Sugar and Cream for most of the pockets on my cotton pocket shawls. On the acrylic ones, like the one that's waiting to be finished now, it's acrylic. The pockets are made out of acrylic. I tried to stick with fibers in the same fiber realm. If I'm making a cotton shawl, it gets cotton pockets. If making an acrylic shawl, it gets acrylic pockets. I don't mix fibers. I just don't think that's appropriate, and I don't think it looks good. Let's talk a little bit about fibers, seeing how we're on that subject. Dr. Crochet Gifts, which is my store, and Dr. Crochet personally, that's me, aka Dr. Vincent Hill, only works with acrylic, cotton acrylic blends, polyester, cotton polyester blends, bamboo, olefin, acrylic, straight polyester. Try to think what else I use. I will work with linen, though not very often because it's so expensive. I don't do a lot in cotton either because cotton is expensive. I do very little in bamboo, but I will work with bamboo because it is so very expensive. And people just are not willing to pay the cost involved in using the higher grade materials like 100% cotton and 100% bamboo. And things of that nature. I will work with a high grade cotton, like an Egyptian, if I can find it and order it. And for anybody who wants that fiber, there is an upcharge for it because of its quality content. Because it is of such a higher quality. You want to hear something funny? Put my hook away. I have to frog it. Why? Because Dr. Crochet like a dummy was working in back loop only without realizing it. For the last 2 rows. So it ended up looking like it had ridges. Not smart. I just was on automatic pilot. I've done so much lately of the pocket shawls where the first and the last 6 rows are half double crochet, but they're in back loop only, that I was on automatic pilot. Doing them in back loop only. So now I gotta go back and do the last 2 rows that I just finished over again and put them in regular. So tell me, my happy hookers, what kind of topics would you like to see Dr. Crochet do? What things would you like to watch me do? Now, of course, we're doing crochet of dishcloths, and I'll let you see what I'm doing here. I'm just, yarning over, going through, yarning over, pulling through, and pulling through again for half double crochet. Yarning over, going through the loops, yarning over, pulling through, yarning over, and pulling through all 3 for half double crochet again. What other things would you like to see me feature on my channel? I've talked about patterns. I've now talked about fibers today. Well, actually, I didn't really talk about fibers. I just talked about what fibers I'll use. Let's actually talk about fibers. Cotton, for instance. It's very durable. It's machine washable, machine dryable. Holds up well to washing. It holds its color well. I've never had a cotton yarn bleed on me in the wash. In fact, I can't recall ever hearing of a cotton or a cotton blend bleeding at all. One of the good things with the cotton is you can get the 100% cotton white. And that comes in a cone, which, if I'm not mistaken, is about 1,400 yards on a cone. Or even if it's 1,000 yards, that's still quite a bit of yarn. But you can re-dye the white to match a color that you need or want. If you're not able to find that in another cotton yarn. Although I would suggest before you go that route, you pop into Hobby Lobby. I know, can't believe it. Dr. Crochet is recommending Hobby Lobby. They have a very wide selection of cotton yarns. Um, if you get to a bigger Michaels, they usually have a wide selection of cotton yarns. The smaller stores, not so much. The bigger Joann's will have more cotton yarns than the smaller ones. But some things you will end up having to order online just because nobody has them in stock. Like I have yet to find any store in my area, Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, none of them have any of the Lion brand cottons in stock. They're all available online, so there's no reason for them not to have them in stock because that means that the main warehouse has them, the Lion brand warehouse, so there's no reason for them not to have them in stock. But I've noticed that none of them carry them. And I'm assuming that's because here in the East Tennessee, Knoxville area, they are not a big seller. Now, acrylics, you want acrylics, they've got every acrylic color under the sun here. Acrylics are a big item here in East Tennessee. Simply because of the price factor. A lot of Red Heart Super Saver, a lot of Big Twist. Gets sold here. You don't see a lot of Red Heart with Love, which is a much softer acrylic than Super Saver. You don't see a lot of cotton acrylic blends. You have to go to Michael's for that, and usually the only one that you can find is Karen Cotton Cakes, and that's if they've got them in stock. Here lately, they've really been picked over. Especially since the anniversary cakes came out and they did that whole anniversary push where they were doing the cakes on sale. The whole Michael's cake shop, Karen Cakes shop, has been in disarray. And you have to go through each individual rack to find what you're looking for. Nothing is where it's supposed to be. Whoever's in charge of organizing their yarn has a nightmare to deal with, and they're not overly attentive because the last 2 times I've been over there, their yarn has been a complete disaster at Michael's. Not just the stuff that's on sale, but all their regular stuff has been just a nightmare. Nothing where it's supposed to be. You have to look through each individual bin throughout all the yarns. Like I found Karen Cotton Cakes mixed in with some of the Lion brand stuff down on the end instead of in the area it's supposed to be in, because they put all their Karen stuff together in one area and they put all their Lion brand in one area and so on and so forth. And I found it all mixed together. It's crazy. Now they did have a bin at our Big Michael's. We have a Big Michael's. They did have a bin on the floor that had multiple Karen cakes in it, but they were acrylic, not the cotton ones like I like. Just in a bin, and they were bagged 3 together. I guess for projects, to make sure you get enough of the same colorway. I think that's a really nifty idea, and I'd like to see more of it, but I'd like to see them bag all their cakes that way. Where you have to buy 3. Of course, that's $30 worth of yarn because the cakes are $10 a piece. If they're on clearance, they're $7 a piece. Well, I should say if they're on sale, they're $7.99 a piece. If they're on clearance, they mark them down to like $4 a piece, which is great. I love it when they go on sale like that, and I'll gobble up as many of them as I can. I also wish Karen Cakes had not done away with their solid colors, but they did. Now all of their cotton cakes are variegated. I guess some of them you could call ombre rather than variegated, but they're all a variegated type coloring now, rather than straight solids. One of the solids I really liked is the Silver Cloud, and I will do quite a few shawls in that, just because it works up beautifully. And I have some of that still. I have 4 of those left to make a couple shawls with. The 4 will turn out 2 shawls with a contrasting color pocket, and of course they get cotton, so I have to find the cotton. And of course you know how that goes. Then there's their new variegateds, and I've got some of those. They're very pretty, and they work up lovely. I mean, they work up the same as the Silver Cloud does. As far as working with it, it's a wonderful yarn to work with. And that's why I like it for the shawls, because it turns out beautiful shawls. And you can look on my website, and you'll see how beautiful the shawls turn out with that. I need to write my own pattern for shawls. Right now I'm using the Perfect Pocket Shawl by Sonia Hood. It's available on Etsy for $6 or on Ravelry for $6. Right now I'm using that particular pocket shawl pattern. I really need to sit down and just develop my own pattern. And go from there. I don't usually have anybody test my patterns. I usually do that myself, because what I do is I'll work the pattern, and as I work it, I'll write it down and tweak it as I go. I'll make different notations in my pattern book of what needs to change here or there, and or what I changed after I've written it down. And people who watch me write or even copy down patterns think I'm a little weird, because I always copy patterns or write my own patterns in multiple colors. Like, for instance, when I write a pattern where I'll put hook for the hook size, and that's in black. The title will be in black. All the little entry things are in black, like where it says hook and gauge and what yarn was used. Abbreviations that are used in that pattern, that kind of thing. And then where it says instructions, that'll all be in black. And then what's out to the side of there, where it says hook, is in black. And then out to the side of that, it'll be in this color here. We'll say, 6 millimeter, 5 millimeter, 5.5 millimeter. So on and so forth. And then all the instructions will be written in this color. And then any notations I make will be in either red or green, depending on what kind of notation it is. If it's a hard change, like say I make the initial beginning chain 106 chains, but then after doing 106 chains, I look at it and that's not long enough, so I change that to 200 chains. That would be written in red because it's a hard change. Not hard as far as difficult, but hard as in set. Something that won't change from piece to piece. It's a hard set change. Then other things that I change will get marked in green. Things that might change from pattern to pattern, like I did 103 half double crochets. Well, no, that may change to 103 double crochets, or 103 single crochets, or 103 treble crochets. So that'll get marked in green. Now, if I decide to change the pattern altogether, and let's say I went from 103 half double crochets, which it originally was, I would mark that out then in red to change to a V stitch or a moss stitch, something that is a stitch, not a basic stitch like half double, single, double, treble. Those all would be in green. But if I'm changing to a hard and fast stitch that requires a type of pattern to it, like moss stitch or V stitch or alpine or lark's foot, that would go in red because that's a hard change. It's a system, that I've worked out for myself, that makes sense to me, and it comes from marking things like that comes from working in the hospital before we scanned everything, when we wrote everything by hand. In the hospital, we used multiple colors. We used red, green, blue, highlighter yellow, black. Let's just talk about medication records in the hospital. The medicine name was in black. Days it was administered were in blue. If it got skipped, it was written in green. If it got discontinued, it was written in red and then highlighted in yellow. So I still hold to that kind of a system. After you've used it for so long, it just makes sense to you. So I've worked out my own system using those same colors because that's what I'm used to. We were talking about fibers. Let's go back to that for a second. Let's talk about polyester. There are a lot of polyester yarns out there. One that is difficult to work with, but it works up beautifully, is the Bernat Velvet and Baby Velvet. They are super soft, and they're beautiful yarns, and they work up beautifully, but they are hard to work with. Not because of the softness or anything like that. They're hard to work with because you can't see the stitches once they're made. You have to really look and really pay attention. So it's something that really has to be worked with. It's not something that you can just throw together like you can with an acrylic, because the velvets are extremely unforgiving. And what I mean by unforgiving is you can't make a stitch in them and then know exactly where that stitch is at to go into it and change it, or to go into it to start your next stitch. You have to really pay attention to what you're doing and really work hard with it. It doesn't work up very fast or very easy. It's just the nature of that velvet yarn. And I've noticed you have the same problem with chenilles, which are also a polyester. You have to be real careful with polyester yarns. They tend to be less forgiving than an acrylic or even a cotton. And you can't really see your stitch detail until after all the stitches are said and done. And you're looking at the piece from an outside type of look. Like, oh, this is finished now. Let's take a look at what it looks like. Then you can tell what's what. But when you're in the middle of making it, it is hard to tell and hard to visualize. Because it just looks like a jumbled mess until it takes form. I'd like to say a little bit about students. I have been known to take on students to teach them crochet. I don't do it very often, and I'm really picky about it. Usually I provide the person that I'm teaching with their first hook. Almost always a boy or a Bates 5 or 5.5. And then I give them some yarn to work with. And that's all I've got to say for today, my happy hookers. So if there's anything you'd like to see on Dr. Crochet's channel, just comment below. Always make sure you like my videos. That helps the channel out. Helps me know what you like, what you don't like. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and be a happy hooker. This is Dr. Crochet saying goodbye.